The Acolyte Episode 3 just gave us the information needed to finally answer the 25-year-old question, how was Anakin Skywalker created? All the way back in 1999, the movie The Phantom Menace was released. We were all introduced to this young boy by the name of Anakin. Qui-Gon Jinn immediately senses something special in this boy. He takes his midichlorian count and is higher than anybody in the Jedi Council, including Master Yoda. Qui-Gon thinks this boy is the chosen one, the one to bring balance to the Force. So he does everything he can to take this boy with him off the planet of Tatooine. And well, you know the rest. Qui-Gon dies, Anakin becomes Obi-Wan's Padawan, and things don't really end very well between the two of them.
Don't try it!
However, the strangest part about The Phantom Menace is that Shmi Skywalker, Anakin's mother, tells Qui-Gon that there is no father. And since The Phantom Menace was released 25 years ago, fans have been running wild with theories about how Anakin Skywalker was created. Until now. The third episode of this Acolyte show might have just given us the answer to that question.
Wow!
The Star Wars fandom has come up with a lot of different theories on how Anakin could have been created, but there are three that stand above the rest. And one of these three was just explained with this Acolyte show. Now, the first and most simple theory is that Anakin is just an immaculate conception. Very similar to a lot of religions around the world, it begins with the birth of an immaculate conception. Anakin was born because the Force willed it to be. Now, there's a lot of evidence to support this theory. In the Clone Wars Season 3, we see this Mortis arc, where Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka get blasted off into this crazy world called Mortis, where they meet the daughter, the son, and the father, the living embodiment of the light side, the living embodiment of the dark, and the balance between them. And it's explained in this arc that Anakin was born to take the place of the father, to keep the balance between the light and the dark forever, meaning Anakin was created for a specific purpose, not to be the chosen one for the Jedi Order, but to keep order in the Force itself. And the latest piece of evidence to suggest this theory is the Ahsoka show. Late last year, Ahsoka Tano was reintroduced to her former master. In the World Between Worlds, we see Anakin Skywalker still teaching lessons, and many fans believe that he has become the father of the Force, the balance between the light and the dark after he died in Return of the Jedi. Now, the second theory comes from Legends, or the extended universe of Star Wars. This comes from the Darth Plagueis novel, and it's an actual explanation as to how Anakin was created. And even though it's Legends, this Plagueis novel is so good that a lot of fans actually see it as their own head canon. But if you're wondering who Darth Plagueis is...
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
He was the master to Emperor Palpatine. But in this novel, with the help of Palpatine, Plagueis is manipulating the Force to try to create an all-powerful dark side being. However,
that's not how the Force works.
And in a rebellion against Plagueis and Palpatine's actions, the Force itself creates Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one. Because these two Sith Lords were trying to manipulate the Force, they became too powerful and Anakin needed to be created to bring balance. Now, the third theory is actually in Star Wars canon. This is coming from a canon run of Darth Vader comics, number 25 to be specific.
I thought of something funnier than 24.
Let me hear it.
In this comic, we see Vader come out of his suit in some sort of dark side Force vision world, and he sees events from his past, one of them being Palpatine standing around his mother as she's pregnant with Anakin, leading some fans to believe that this is the explanation. Palpatine manipulated the Force to create Anakin Skywalker. However, that's sort of been debunked by the creators of that comic. Matt Martin, who worked on writing this comic, has explained that this is not what's going on. The dark side is clouding Anakin's judgment, and this is not supposed to be taken literally. And that takes us to the Acolyte. In this third episode, we learned about this coven of witches on the planet of Brendock, and how their views of the Force are a lot different from the Jedi. They actually call it the Thread. And if that sounds familiar, again, late last year in the Ahsoka show, when we're introduced to these great mothers, they are also referring to the Force as this thread of destiny. But these witches on Brendock explain the thread as something that is pulled on. And the two main characters of this Acolyte show, Osha and Mae, are twins that were created by these witches by pulling on that thread. We hear Mother Anisea, who is the leader of these witches and the mother to these children, say to the Jedi a very similar sentiment to what Shmi Skywalker said all the way back 25 years ago in The Phantom Menace. There is no father. And we also learn in this third episode that Mother Coral is the one who carried the girls, and Mother Anisea is the one who created them, confirming that these two girls were created by the witches using the thread or the Force. So the Force itself didn't create these children. It wasn't this immaculate conception theory that we've been talking about. Another living being, Mother Anisea, was manipulating the Force to create these two twins. Sound familiar? This is theory number 2 from the Legends novel about Plagueis and Palpatine manipulating the Force. The only difference is the Force doesn't rebel against Mother Anisea here, or does it? Well, let's look at what actually happened. In the Plagueis novel, Plagueis and Palpatine are trying to create a dark side being. The Force rebels and creates a light side being. In the Acolyte show, these witches are neither light side nor dark side. So when they pull on the Force to try to create a being, two come out. One being dark side, which is Mae, and one being light side, which is Osha, keeping the balance. So just like the Force rebelling against Plagueis and creating a light side person in Anakin Skywalker, the Force is rebelling against the witches and creating one dark side and one light. And unknowingly, these witches, by creating these two girls, set themselves up for their own destiny, which was dying at the hands of their own creation, just like Plagueis and Palpatine. Now, you still might be saying,
Mike, this doesn't really prove anything. It's just a theory right now.
And although that's true, we still have 5 episodes left in this Acolyte show. And we've already seen this mysterious masked Sith Lord that's been dubbed Darth Zipperface countless times throughout all these Acolyte trailers. And the title of the show is The Acolyte, meaning the apprentice of a Sith Lord. So Darth Zipperface is most likely the apprentice to the current day Sith Lord. And there's really only 2 options for this current day Sith Lord, and that is Darth Tenebrous and Darth Plagueis. And personally, I believe since we're only about 80 years before the Phantom Menace, it's most likely that Darth Plagueis is the master. His species is the Mun, and they can live up to 200 plus years old. So this is how we go from the Acolyte episode 3 explaining how these twins are created to Plagueis creating Anakin. First of all, Mae has to come into contact with Plagueis. Mae knows all the secrets of the witches, and in episode 3, during her ascension ceremony, she promised to keep those secrets safe. However, a lot has changed over the 16 years since that ascension ceremony. All of her family is dead, and now she worships the Sith. So let's say that Darth Zipperface just happens to maybe get his head chopped off in the forest when he's fighting against 8 Jedi. Now Mae becomes the perfect candidate to become the next apprentice of Darth Plagueis. And then Mae will be the one who teaches Plagueis the power to create life by manipulating the Force, or the thread. But what Plagueis doesn't really know is that the witches, when they tried this, ended up killing themselves. And Plagueis is pretty much doing the same thing by trying to create this all-powerful dark side being. So this third episode of The Acolyte didn't just explain how these twins were created, they might have just explained how Anakin Skywalker himself, the Chosen One, was created. But only time will tell if this is actually going to play out this way. It seems like they've set this up perfectly to have Mae teach Plagueis how to create life using the thread or the Force, but it's only a matter of will they do it? Will they finally explain after all these years how Anakin was created? But until then, tell me what you think in the comments section below. Do you think this third episode just explained how Anakin Skywalker could be created in canon Star Wars? Or do you think it will remain a mystery? Tell me what you think in the comments below. And there's a lot more that you might have missed in this third episode of The Acolyte, but that's okay, because I broke it all down right here.